From JBS Studios in Greater New York, this is the JBS News Update with Teisha Bader.
I'm Teisha Bader with the JBS News Update for Wednesday, June the 12th, 2019. Israeli fighter jets were on alert this afternoon after a small drone penetrated Israeli airspace from Lebanon. The IDF tracked the drone, which quickly returned to Lebanese territory. The incident came just hours after reports from the Syrian state media of an alleged Israeli strike on an area controlled by the Lebanese Hezbollah terror group in Syria. Several missiles were reportedly fired towards the town of Al-Hara just across the Golan Heights. Israel has not commented on the reports, though later in the day Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu did say that Israel is continuing to act to prevent our enemies from establishing attack bases in our vicinity. Lebanon, meanwhile, has said it will not attend the conference in Bahrain later this month. The gathering is said to focus on the economic aspect of the yet-to-be-unveiled U.S. peace plan for Israel and the Palestinians. Lebanese Foreign Minister Gibran Bassil said last night, "We will not participate in the Bahrain conference because the Palestinians are not participating, and we prefer to have a clear idea about the proposed plan for peace." As we reported to you yesterday, Jordan and Egypt said they would attend the conference, a decision the Palestinian Authority said they deeply regret, urging them and other, quote, brotherly nations to withdraw. The IDF unveiled an upgrade to its incoming rocket siren system, making the red alerts more precise and easier to follow. Under the old alert system, the country was broken down into about 255 regions. If a rocket was detected heading towards anywhere within a region, sirens would be triggered throughout the entire area. Now the system will be city-specific. The IDF wrote that instead of alerting civilians in a general vicinity of incoming rockets, Israelis will now be alerted only when their exact neighborhood is targeted. An explosive device attached to a balloon was launched from Gaza over the security fence. It detonated in southern Israel today. No injury or damage was caused. The balloon-borne explosive device was the first of its kind in about a month. Arson balloons have been continuing to be sent over the border fence over the last few weeks, including several today, which sparked fires in the Eshkol region. Moldova said it will move its embassy in Israel from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. The small Eastern European country made the announcement yesterday, apparently tied to plans to build a new American embassy in Moldova in the time of political unrest in the country, with the suspension of its elected president last week, Igor Dodon, and new elections set for September. Acting Prime Minister Pavel Filip said there was an urgency for his government to push these two decisions. He said these are two commitments that we have previously undertaken, and we want to make sure they will be respected regardless of what happens after the snap elections. Well, a follow-up now to a story we told you about on Friday, that organizers of the Washington, D.C. Dyke March, which is a gay rights rally, said they would not allow any gay pride flags carried in the parade that had Jewish stars on them, which caused outrage in the Jewish community, including from the Jewish Community Relations of Greater Washington, who said the ban undermines the march's intended purpose of inclusivity. While marchers carrying the Jewish pride flag went to the march on Friday in protest of the ban and were eventually allowed to take part. I spoke earlier today with the Associate Director of the JCRC of Greater Washington, Gila Franklin Spiegel, who was at the march on Friday, for more on what transpired. Thank you so much, Gila, for joining us on JBS.
It's my pleasure.
So you were there at the march on Friday. Can you tell us what happened?
We, along with other members of the Jewish community who were convened by Zionists and a wider bridge and the JCRC, went to the March gathering site, and we had members of the LGBTQ community, our Jewish queer sisters, who had pride flags with Jewish stars. And when we attempted to join the rest of the crowd for the march, we were initially blocked by marshals from the march. We engaged in a dialogue with them where we expressed our feelings about why their policy of banning the pride flag with the Star of David on it was anti-Semitic, and why this kind of exclusionary policy actually undermined the very thing that they were trying to accomplish with their march. And it was a respectful dialogue, and in the end, we arrived at a compromise whereby the march marshals had insisted that only members of the LGBT community who were self-identified as dykes should be marching. Amanda Berman of Zioness and myself argued that we represent, through our agencies, thousands of queer Jewish women who are not able to participate on Friday, and that we should be allowed to march as such, and also that it was important for us to be able to march so that we could be supportive of the Jewish dyke women who were there with the flags and who might have felt vulnerable and a bit unsafe marching on their own without allies. In the end, we weren't able to join the march because it was scheduled so late in the afternoon on Friday, and Shabbat and the beginning of a 3-day holiday weekend for us was approaching. But we were gratified that in the end, the women whom we were accompanying and standing as allies for had their identities and their voices respected for who they were.
So the Jewish women who were members of the LGBTQ community did in fact march with Jewish pride flags?
They were allowed to. Unfortunately, the march didn't step off until way too close to Shabbat coming in, and so we didn't actually conclude the march with the larger group. But yes, they were allowed to, and Amanda Berman from Zioness and myself were tasked with accompanying them as community leaders in order to support them.
Well, first of all, congratulations on reaching this conclusion through respectful dialogue. That is not a given. It's a difficult task, I'm sure.
Yes, and I will say it was emotionally fraught and tense at times, and we were disappointed to see that the leaders of the D.C. Dyke March issued a follow-up statement yesterday that doubled down on their overall policy and really did not advance the ball in terms of reaching that place of mutual understanding and respect in the long term. So that's unfortunate. But as far as what transpired on Friday, I think it was as positive of an outcome as we could have hoped for. And very, very importantly, I think the women who are Jewish, who are members of the LGBTQ community, felt supported by the broader Jewish community. And I can't emphasize enough how important I feel that is.
Absolutely.
They took the lead. This was their space, but we were there to support them as fellow Jews. Because as we have often said at JCRC, no person should ever have to choose between their Jewish identity and their identity as an LGBTQ person or a person of color or any other aspect of their identity.
Well, thank you so much, Gila. It was truly, it was good to hear something positive come out of this, even though you said there is still obviously work to be done. But we appreciate your efforts and taking the time to speak with us today at JBS.
My pleasure. Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you. Well, today, June the 12th, would have been Anne Frank's 90th birthday. To mark the occasion, classmates from Anne's school gathered at her childhood home at Merven-Deplin today to talk to young people about her life and legacy. And in Venice, at the site of the former ghetto, 90 people, including religious and political leaders, scholars, athletes, and artists, took turns reading from Anne Frank's beloved diary in the Italian translation today in an event called 90 Voices for Anne Frank, promoted by the Italian writer Matteo Corradini, who said it will be as if each reader represents a candle of a birthday that we will never be able to celebrate. Taking a look now at our programming for tonight on JBS for Wednesday, June the 12th at 7 o'clock. It's From the Aleph Bet. At 8, The Jake Ehrenreich Show. At 9 tonight, Mark Golub sits down with Nancy Spielberg, who describes growing up Jewish in Phoenix with her brother Stephen and talks about her film Who Will Write Our History, which documents the Oneg Shabbos, a clandestine group of Warsaw Ghetto Jews who documented Nazi atrocities. Then at 10:30, we hear from author Anita Diamond. And coming up right after this newscast, it's Thinking Out Loud with Micah Halpern. And that's the JBS News Update for Wednesday, June the 12th, 2019. I'm Teisha Bader.